Welcome to another episode of the Counterplay Archive. Today we're going to be going over Anila. She's pretty simple, but she does have a little tricky things that if you don't know, it could be a little rough to deal with. And then also with, some of her changes recently, it just felt right to go over some of this stuff now. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, starting off with normals. Her normals are pretty standard. 5 frame close light, 6 frame far light, 2L is low and 6 frames. And then into her medium normals, her close M is -2, so unlike some Shotas, this is actually minus instead of being like even on block. Her 2M is 7 frames, but it's pretty short in comparison to other 2Ms, obviously because of the frame data. It's pretty fast, so yeah, it's gonna be pretty small. So yeah, this is 7 frames. It isn't the biggest, but it's 7 frames, also a mid. So it's not too scary, but it's decently fast, so something to keep in mind. Her far M is 9 frames. This is a pretty decently sized button for 9 frames. Besides that, nothing too crazy. It's -6 on block, but you're not gonna really be punishing this from this far. Anyway, next we have her H series. Close H, double hitting 9 framer. Safe on block. So nothing too crazy. Her far H, which recently just got its frame data changed a bit. This was like -12 before, I'm pretty sure. Now it's -9. So it's safer on block, but not completely safe, as some characters might be able to do, like to be able to punish this, but it's not often where you're gonna get a far H into nothing. So it's just something to keep in mind, I guess. However, it is an option now since it's a lot less minus on block now, so it's not usually just like if nothing happens they can punish it. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. They wanted to increase the usage of this move and not have players just die for using it. So yeah, it's a pretty alright button. 2H is pretty big. It's one of the bigger 2Hs in the game. It's 11 frames as well. So I guess it's on like the normal side for 2Hs. But yeah, this movie is pretty big. I wouldn't recommend, obviously I wouldn't recommend jumping in this game in general without a good reason, but if you're in the air, this move would probably, especially like vertically this is really good range. So I'd say watch out jumping against this character more than other characters, because this will catch you more often than not. Next to her uniques, her 5U is this thing. This actually recently got buffed, at least the follow-up of it. But this is not cancelled in anything. This is safe on block. So I'm pretty sure this is new as of this last patch. But this is, I remember this used to be a frame trap. So if you were to press after this would frame trap and would counter hit right here, but I guess since now this combos, this no longer does this. So if they ever end up doing this follow-up on block, then you can press a button. Any 6 framer will be able to punish right here. It goes off at any timing because it's all the same. So something that's good to know, that if they just like doing this on block, then you can't punish this with a 6 frame normal. Next is her 2U. Her 2U is unique in the fact that it's pretty big, and like usually 2Us that go this far are either like forward advancing and like cancelable, but this one is stationary, can be canceled off of from like a normal into a special. So yeah, it's pretty big. This is definitely the move that people were scared of the most when you dropped. And then it ended up not being the greatest. It's still like a pretty good poke because it's a low, and like not a lot of people are gonna be blocking low from this distance. So it's definitely a great tool to catch people off guard, and then she can cancel it into like a 2-1-4U into a combo and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd say it's something to keep in mind that this move does exist, and like at this range from like round start, like this distance right here, you are not safe. So it's just something to keep in mind. However, this move is really minus on whiff, like minus 45. So if you happen to get a good read on this and like make it whiff or like jump over it, then you can get a pretty big punish. Next move that I want to talk about is one of her jumping normals, which is her JU. Her JU is unique as it literally only hits behind her. Well, I guess that's the reason why it's assigned to the unique button. But yeah, this only hits behind her. So like something like this, it doesn't hit at all. So a lot of like times you might see like a jump in, and then they'll do this to fake like you have to block an air normal, and then they'll like immediately throw or something like that, or like off of one of these, and then they'll throw and stuff like that. But it also has a pretty big like back hitting hitbox, unlike other like moves that might like hit like both sides. Like this one right here, her JM hits both sides, but its back hitbox is pretty small, unlike this where this hits from all the way over here. So yeah, it's just a little like tricky move at first, because you'll see an animation, you're like, oh, I gotta block overhead, and then she immediately throws you. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. First, we'll start off into her projectiles, which is her 236 series, which is the sheep. Well, they're all sheep, but yeah, this is her projectile. It's grounded, so this cannot be rolled. That goes for any of these versions, whether it is the L, the M, the H, or even the U. Show this off. I switched around myself. I try to roll this. As you can see, it's a grounded move, so you can't roll it. So if you ever tried to roll this move and wondered why you can't roll through it, this is the reason why. It's grounded, and typically grounded moves you cannot roll through and you'll get caught. But spot dodge is always a valid option right there. Of course, depending on the spacing, you know, frame data may vary. But yeah, besides that, honestly, these moves aren't too scary. The difference between these is that the L version is pretty slow startup. Well, not pretty slow startup, but it travels slow. So it's like from a distance, it's like more plus. This is just to kind of like, the M version is faster, as you can see. So it's like the, you know, projectile has timing difference and stuff like that. And then here's the H version, which is plus, it's a multi-hit. Typical properties of an H fireball. And then there's her U fireball, which is this. It shoots out 3 different sheep. This move used to be like probably considered one of the best fireballs in the game, but then they nerfed it, and now it's significantly weaker. Obviously, it's still pretty solid, but it's definitely nowhere near as good as people would consider it prior. The main nerf, as you can probably see, is the third sheep doesn't go all the way or disappear, as it goes like about like 3/4 of the screen, so you can just be out of distance and it won't reach. You're trying to, you know, you don't have to hold that last one, which is pretty significant in certain situations, because like that would have been like a true block string right there, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, but you know, that's just that move. I'll go over other stuff to kind of deal with this in a bit, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to show how this works and how it works. Anyway, how to deal with this. You saw before that you can't roll any of these, so like, what do you do to get around this? So these are actually grounded, and they're pretty slow startup, so most of them can be jumped over, especially in like block strings like this. Let me record one real quick. like something like this. We'll do this, and you know, like, oh, I can't deal with this right here. Try to spot dodge. I'm in, you know, I'm still right here. Even though I'm plus, I'm still right here. What do? Right here, you can jump, and obviously you're minus if you land beforehand. But if you jump, not like that. I have a habit of holding block button like that. But if you happen to jump one of these, then you're in a pretty decent position, and she doesn't recover fast enough, I don't think, to get a DP. But as you can see, you kind of safe jump her on her landing, so she has to hold the jump. So jumping right here on a, like, it's a pretty solid guess. And of course she can't really do anything about it if she does, like, if you do guess right on a jump. After a bit of testing though, it seems like you can't guarantee yourself a safe jump on this. It probably depend on like what jumping normal you have off of the H version. But I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't think a lot of Anila players are going to be, one, ready to DP this on reaction, and two, they're probably not going to use EX from this distance right here because of how, like, positioning and stuff like that. Like, if you were to do this right here, this is still plus. If you were to do this right here, you know, you're not using this point blank to make this plus. This is more of the move that you use point blank to make plus, stuff like that. So, like, it's probably not the positioning that they would use it at, but it's just something to keep in mind. But it's still a pretty decent option to go ahead and, like, try and jump over this right here. Even if this in particular doesn't work, like I said, not a lot of Anila players are going to be ready to DP that on reaction, especially off of this specific situation, because it's just not something that happens often. So I'd still recommend jumping despite that. So this also works on the M version as well, but however, there's a little catch. You see right there, obviously, it works. And you can actually punish this, I guess, depending on the distance and whatnot. So there's something to keep in mind. But if you delay it a little bit, like if you're trying to wait for the animation to come out and you try to delay and jump, you see right there, I'm getting caught out. But if you do it immediately, then you put yourself in a decent position. So you see right there, try to delay a little bit, try to jump, it catches my startup. I jump immediately, I'm able to jump over it, and I get myself a punish. So it's just good to know that if you are planning to jump this, then, you know, don't hesitate, just jump over it and then get yourself in there and whatnot. However, Anila isn't going to cancel into this every single time, so she might just, like, you know, do this, do a poke, and then, because this is, you know, this is like -6, you are punishing her from this. She's plus right here, you're not punishing her from this, so she can just do nothing, and then you can jump, and then it'll be pretty bad. Obviously, that's like a very exaggerated like replication of the situation, but if you try to jump immediately after that, then you'll get caught after that. So it's just good to keep a note the players' habits. If they're like constantly doing this into this or something like that, then it's good to keep in mind what you know, what options he has. And this is definitely, her canceling into this is definitely one of them. So her canceling into 236U is something that, you know, you might see on like Chip or something like that. But this is one of those where it's like right here you don't really have an option. I just have to hold this. You see, if I try to buffer jump right here, I get caught out and I can't do anything. So on block, this is kind of just something you have to hold. But sometimes Anila players might do this like mid-screen, because it is a pretty, like, it does take a pretty decent amount of space. If you block this, she gets a lot of like room to just run in. So what happens if you see this on, you know, just randomly in mid-screen? Because it's definitely an option you will see. So for one, don't roll it like I said not to do for everything else. You will get caught. Actually, don't spot dodge this because you're gonna also in a pretty bad position because the other ones come after it, and if you do a bad spot dodge timing, then you'll get counter hit, and then she gets a full combo off of this as well. So, you know, like, what else if you're not trying to block it? If you do see this, then if you see blue, then you can jump at her. And you can actually punish her for it if you're in the position to do so on a forward jump. You see I can kind of do this on reaction too. I'm waiting for blue, but I was a little late right there. And you see that? And then you can get a punish right there. So for example, let me see if I'm a little bit further. I have a little bit more space. Obviously you can't punish her, but you can get clean over it, and then she wastes 100 meter, or not 100 meter, 50 meter. So if you want to avoid this and also get rewarded for it, if you're in a decent enough spot, then you can jump this and then you can punish her for it. However, if, you know, you're like, you know, not confident on whatever, you can kind of just jump back. Obviously, it's probably not the best thing to do. I'd advise to jump forward, because then you can actually like jump over the incoming ones for the most part, depending on your spacing, as you can see. If you kind of jump back, you might run into one, which you might still have, you know, a decent advantage. So yeah, if you do see this, jump forward. Good idea. Next into her 2-on-4 series, it is this thing right here. So she has, of course, 4 versions of these. It's the light version. It's pretty decent start, not decent startup, as in it's fast. 12 frames at like the closest, but regardless, pretty fast. Travels a good distance. Doesn't travel full screen, the L version. But then she also has, for all of these except the U version, she has a follow-up, which you can jump off of it, and then it keeps going. And then, yeah. So this doesn't also travel full screen. Or travel a set difference after, set distance after she jumps off of it. But she can make it to where it does, like, the whole thing travels full screen if she jumps off of it pretty late. The M version has a lot slower startup, but it is always plus on block, and it does give a pretty decent pushback, as you can see. It kind of pushes them back to like what would be like round start, like distance in between them. But in the corner, it pushes back both characters a decent bit, but she'll be at a decent position right here, being +2, and you know, being able to contest this space right here. You can also jump off of this as well, but this one actually does go full screen. Both versions both go full screen. So yeah, this is the H version. It's like her combo tool for the most part, so you won't see this on blog, especially because it is, or just randomly thrown out because it's -8. She can jump off of this as well, but of course she doesn't retain those like plus frames and whatnot. It's slower startup than her L version as well. So yeah, they've increased the first active frame a couple of times, but it's still not consistent on like comboing off of her far normals, which is funny as someone who has played the character. But it is what it is. But yeah, just in general, something to know as someone trying to play against this character. It's not too fast. Obviously, it's a decent speed. But yeah, if you block this, at least this version, she's -8, so she can be punished. If she like pops off of this in front of your face, which is probably never gonna happen. She's -6. I usually get something like this. She's still plus, but she wastes this cooldown. So yeah. Next is the U version, which is also mainly a combo tool. It has like a couple other uses in terms of like baiting out some stuff, but it's this, and she is always -6 right here. She can't hop off of this or anything. It just goes full screen, and yeah, if you block this, she's -6, so you can punish this with 6 normal or whatnot. So yeah. Well, let's talk about like spot dodging and whatnot. So as you can see, as usual, roll does not work because it's grounded, but you can spot dodge these. This is more of like you can't spot dodge this on reaction. Like if I try to spot dodge that on reaction, you're not gonna get anything off of it. Especially the L version in particular, like the L and the H version is kind of similar. If you spot dodge early, however, depending on how early you spot dodge, you may get hit because it's still active for a pretty decent amount of time. But obviously there is a right timing for the spot dodge, and as you can see, I'm like +9. The most I've seen was like +11, but obviously it's more of anticipated spot dodge than a reaction and whatnot. And there you go, there's the +11. However, if the Anila player does decide to hop off of this, and you can, and you do like react to right here, your reward is much greater, as you can see, from being like a questionable like +1 to being +21. So if this does happen and you know they like jumping off of this, then you can definitely spot dodge here and you can most likely kill them for it. So like, you know, something like that is good to know if they like using the L version and immediately canceling off of this from this distance. I'm just going over this in particular because this is something that's actually seen in neutral a pretty decent amount, where Anila players will, you know, this is a projectile pool, but they also use this similarly to a projectile. And it kind of is as well, but it's just like a little bigger projectile that travels faster and whatnot, and it has the option of not being a projectile and being more of a lariat. So it's something that you might see a lot right here. So if you do happen to like spot dodge one of these on reaction, then it's good to know that you are at a pretty decent advantage. Next is the M version. The M version is it's weird to spot dodge. I'd say that at the very least. If you spot dodge too early, then you're gonna get hit by this, and this is a full combo in the corner. She'll get a wall bounce and whatnot. If you spot dodge it a little late, then you can indeed punish this. It's a lot easier to punish off of this than the other one. As you can see, I'm getting consistent, like above +6, which is at best, or not at best, at worst, a close light punish or a close M punish for some characters. It depends, like I said, but yeah, you don't want to kind of spot dodge this like immediately like you would the L version, which makes it a pretty decent like mix-up in terms of stuff like this, because then that would happen. But if you do happen to spot dodge this at the right time, you're at a pretty decent position to punish this. At worst, you know, if you're unsure, throw will always work out in your favor. Something to also look out for is that they can kind of react to this and let this out late, and then the follow-up actually is a lot better of a combo starter than just getting counter hit or hit off of normal. So you see if I spot dodge that right there and she does the follow-up, that launches and then she gets a wall bounce, which leads into an even better combo. It's probably like her most damaging, it was one of her most damaging starters, especially since she can link a ultimate skill off of this, like not cancelled from a normal. So it's something to be wary of if you are just like spot dodging this for fun. That if you spot dodge this wrong, you may just die. So it's something to keep in mind, because this is definitely a threat. The H version is pretty similar to the L version in the fact that it's like, if you spot dodge this, like one of those, then it's gonna be like pretty minus. If you spot dodge this on reaction, you're not getting too much out of it. Obviously this is a little slower than her other one, so you have more time to punish this if you do spot dodge it like at the earliest. But if they do like jump off of this right here, then it's pretty similar to the L version, where you can give yourself a punish right here and whatnot. So it's something to keep in mind. It's just very, very similar to the L version, just the fact that she spends a cooldown for it. Next is the U version. The U version, unlike some other like U lariats, this is actually even on spot dodge. Other U lariats are either like, you can punish them if you spot dodge it, or you get punished for spot dodging because it recovers fast. But this is kind of, you guys are left in a pretty like neutral situation. Even if you spot dodge it late, she's only +1, so she can't do anything about it. If you try to like spot dodge it like a little early, you're +1. You can't really do too much about it. Besides, it's your turn, like just barely. So yeah. So I kind of went over like the neutral stuff, but sometimes these can be used in block strings, whether it is in mid-screen or if it is in the corner. So let me tell you this, that you can kind of treat this similarly to how you would treat her projectiles with jumping. Well, let me tell you this straight up first, that the L version right here, this cannot be jumped. It doesn't matter what this is canceled off of. This is a true block string too. That this, if they cancel into this, your jumping plans are gone. Not like you're eating much for it, but yeah, that's a big no-no right there, because you'll just get hit and you're back in like the same situation. The same goes for this move, and you actually get comboed off of this. This is more of a call out, of course, because like I said before, if they do this wrong, then they're -8 and you can punish them for it. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind. But yeah, on block, a lot of times Anila players will like to do the other option that is jumpable, which is this right here, the M version, which, you know, on block leaves them +2, and they're in a pretty decent position. You know, you can poke out right here, you can 6XL, save this distance, whatnot. But if you do jump this, then at the very least, you get yourself a side switch. You can neutral jump as well, but obviously you won't be getting that side switch. If you neutral jump, you get yourself a guaranteed punish. When you kind of side switch, it depends on your air normal. Like, Anila would be able to punish herself right here, I'd imagine. This also works if she decides to try to do the follow-up, because sometimes they'll try to do the follow-up afterwards, just to, you know, keep that spacing and whatnot. And this actually, you know, works a lot better right here, as you can see. This is pretty bad for her, if I can jump properly and see the actual frame data. Even on a landing, you're +11. So you can jump and land, and most characters can get a close H from right here, which is really bad for her. So if they do like to try to do this, then you can certainly just, like, this is a great option to deal with this in particular. I did talk about how this will beat out your jump attempts, but let's say, for example, they try to do this, then the same applies, where you can jump over this and you can punish, as you can see. So jumping is a pretty decent option right here, because Anila players will like to kind of cancel off of this occasionally, and if you guess right on one of these, you're in a really good position. So her corner pressure, or just her pressure in general, is really susceptible to being jumped and her getting punished for it. So that's just like a really like big general takeaway from this character, just as of right now. So yeah. Next is the last thing we're gonna cover, or the last special we're gonna cover, and that is her 2-2 series. Is like her little hop. This was changed recently, mainly this version, because holy crap, they changed this. But yeah, she has her 4 versions of these, and yeah, so let's just go over them real quick. Her L version is probably the least notable of the bunch. She hops up just like a little bit. She doesn't go too far like forward either. If she's like directly in front of your face, then she can cross up. But this is probably the option you're gonna be seeing the least, just to say that. After she gets up a certain distance, she can input a normal, an air normal, and whatnot. So, yeah. For M version, which was recently changed, it was pretty scary, I can't lie. This move travels like full screen. It literally travels full screen. So, yeah, it has a lot of horizontal distance. If she's close enough to you, which is like 3/4 of the screen, then it will cross up, and once it crosses up, it immediately like stops. As you can see, she kind of just like falls straight down. Like even regardless of distance, she kind of just stops and lands right behind you and stuff like that. So yeah, this is, you might see this from anywhere. It's a pretty scary like approach option. Obviously, it's not like, you know, this is uninteractable from like with her being in the air, but it's pretty scary, especially considering this goes full screen in like 20 frames or almost 30 frames. So it's like half a second right here. So yeah, this move is pretty good as of this last patch. Next is the H version, which is pretty similar to the L version, besides the fact that it travels further horizontally, and it has, I wouldn't say fast, it's not faster startup, as you can see, but it travels more horizontally. So it can be kind of just used as a quick option to cross up, or kind of like get in your face and whatnot. So yeah, last but not least is the U version. This U version is interesting. It has gone through a couple changes in its lifespan, but its most current version is a tracking move, which doesn't go full screen actually, and it lands with a hitbox that leaves her +2 always. So yeah, it also leads into a full combo on hit as well. So it's something to keep in mind. This move indeed exists. So yeah. So Anila players will sometimes, you know, like cancel this move, like something like this, to kind of get like a cross up if they're in the corner. You know, something like, you know, like this. And then they get a quick cross up right there to kind of get out of the corner and whatnot. So it's something to keep in mind if you're like having a Anila player in the corner. This option is definitely one of their go-tos to just get out, because it's pretty hard to react to if you're not ready for it, and it does get them on the other side. It does exactly what it wants or they want it to do. So yeah, it's just something to be wary of in this position in particular. What are your options against this move? It's not like this option is uninteractable. You know, she's just like a freaking a movable object in the air. But she can be, you know, she can be hit out of this in most situations. So I'm gonna give you like the most common examples of like some of the uses of each version of the move. So we'll just see how to counterplay those in particular, and then it's the same. Like if it was used at any point, it would be like the same like response. But I'm just gonna show you where you might see these the most. So off of the L and the H versions, you will probably see this canceled a lot off of like something like this. And like I showed you just prior, you know, something that's like a side switch for something like this. So right here, you have a couple different options. Of course, one, if it's kind of like preemptive, you can 2H, even on like reaction a bit. If you're ready for it, you can kind of react, and you can kind of hit her out of her normal right there. So that certainly works right there. DP is kind of iffy, as you can see, because like right here, she kind of comes behind you. And that only connected because she extended her hurt box from her other move. So let's see if I were to not do anything right here, what would happen? As you can see, DP just whiffs. So I'd say it depends on your DP. like you have something like Grands where it goes like out like this. It's a pretty bad idea to do on reaction, but if it's more like a call out and you're kind of like trying to catch anything, this will certainly cover multiple options. But if you're trying to do that, then it's something to keep in mind. So 2H is probably your best option. Of course, depending on your 2H, because some 2Hs don't have this generous hitbox in the back. Especially if the Anila player doesn't cancel on anything. But, you know, usually they're going to try to cross up with a button, so they'll probably extend their hurt box back into where your 2H is going to be active. But, yeah. This is something that works for both the L and the H version, but like I said, you'll see the H version a lot more than the L version. The L version won't have the same problem as the H version where you can't DP it on reaction, because she doesn't go behind you unless she does this directly in front of your face without canceling into anything, or canceling from anything. So yeah, like I said, you're probably going to see the H version a lot more, but just consider your options when that happens. Next is the M version. You won't really see the M version canceled off of anything in particular because of how slow it takes or how long it takes to do whatever. You know, obviously it's not too much slower than the H version, but it's still mainly use something like, you know, you might be right here and then they'll just do something like that. So let me just record this. You know, you may see it for something right here, because this can also, like, something like this may also happen where you try to kind of, like, you're playing zoning and then she just hops over your stuff and you're like, damn, that's tough. So this is definitely an implication, or not an implication, this is a use of this move that they can try to, like, use it for. Kind of just skip neutral and beat out the projectile wars. So yeah, what happens if you kind of, you know, you're right on one of these and this happens? So one, you'd be like, wait, what just happened right there? This is on reaction. You're probably not going to be able to 2H this if you're too early. Obviously, it depends, but there is a timing where the dead zone, certainly it exists. You kind of have to be really on point of your stuff. Obviously, if she does throw out a hitbox, it might be a little easier to catch it, but there are times where she might throw out something like late. Or something like that. She might throw it out a little late, and you'll be like, oh, I tried to react to it, and I was a little late, and then I died. So, yeah, this is kind of a problem. It's something that you have to be really ready for. And, like, anti-air it as soon as you see it come out. Obviously, some anti-airs might not be, you know, anti-airs aren't created equal, to say the very least. So you might have, your character might have a little bit more trouble dealing with this than others. But yeah, it's kind of scary to deal with. One, as you can see, this was kind of delayed, so let me re-record this. But there is, like, the timing, you kind of have to figure out a timing. Obviously, Anila players are going to throw out the, you know, every Anila player is going to throw out a move at the exact same time. But you can kind of wait for your character to kind of readjust to change the positioning and try to get a 2H off of that. So I guess the biggest thing I'm trying to say right here is figure out the timing for when she crosses up, so you can 2H accordingly to where your character switches positions or switches sides and is able to 2H this properly. Once you have a 2H that, you know, just is just that big and covers both, because then you, if not, then you will have something like this happen where you try to do it on reaction, and then sometimes it will work, sometimes you'll just whip. As you can see, I'm getting kind of lucky right here, but yeah, there is a pretty big dead zone and trying to anti-air this stuff. But yeah, I'd say something like that. If you can figure out a timing where your character can just turn around and do that, then that's great. But of course, you might find inconsistencies with timing and stuff like that, because the later she does it, then it will probably catch out your delayed attempt. The earlier she does it, it will kind of catch out a certain 2H attempt. So it's, yeah, just timings and figuring out what works and what not. And if you have a universal option to this, and by all means, because DP is certainly not the universal option if she does nothing. Like I said before, if she just kind of does this, DP whiffs. So, again, if she does nothing, 2H also whiffs if you're not like delaying it and you get like the side switch. So I'd say, most importantly, I'm gonna reiterate this, figure out the timing where your character will kind of readjust their positioning to face the other side, and then try to 2H there so it makes it more consistent on 2Hing. Just for one. However, there is one other option that I don't really cover a lot in my videos when it comes to like airborne stuff, but it's good to know. I will start trying to remember this for the future, and that is air grab. Air grab is a pretty solid option if you don't want to deal with like this crossing you up. But of course, you kind of have to be good on like timing and stuff like that. But a lot of these are very preemptive. As you saw like once, if I do it too late right there, I'll get caught on the way up. But if you can react to this and you're not trying to like 2H this and have, you know, gamble on a 2H, then air grab is a pretty decent option if you are ready for it. So yeah, like I said, timing might be pretty difficult, but it's more of a call out than anything, because like I said, if you're late then you might get caught, and that's something that you don't want to happen. But yeah, this move is very hard stuff, I cannot lie. So figure out what works for you, and you know, the optimal option for your character, because like I said, not all characters anti-airs are created equal, so you might not as easy have as easy as a time as another character may have dealing with this move. I know the characters I play have been struggling to deal with this move, so yeah, just figure out what works and what doesn't, and then plan accordingly. So yeah, next is 2-2-U. This move, it's kind of weird. I've seen it most times. Like, you usually won't see this right here, because if you like something like this is, again, it's weird. Like, you might see this, like, it's not really a reaction to a projectile, more of a call out, and it will beat something like that, and then she gets a combo off of that. So you might see it sometimes like this, and I can't really say anything besides be aware of this option. But yeah, trying to 2H this is also not easy, just due to, you know, slowdown and whatnot. This is very preemptive. Has to be like an immediate option with the other options that she has for ultimate skills and making the screen turn blue. This is probably not your first idea to do. You can react to this by all means, go crazy, so this would be sick. But you can also, this is one of those where you can reliably react to with DP, even if you're like a little late, because, you know, reversal, and whatnot. So yeah, that's probably something to keep in mind when you're at this distance. However, this move is sometimes used as a throw bait. Why? I don't know, because this I guess I could kind of see the reasoning, but like this, if it is like, if this fails, like on block, she's +2, okay? That's not terrible. But let's say, for example, you do this. She dies. So, if you are ready for this option to come out as a throw bait option, off, and she dies. I honestly didn't even know it was this minus. All I knew is that I could throw punish this for the most part. But if you spot dodge this, you were always plus double digits. It don't even matter when you spot dodge. I spot dodged that hella late. I was still plus 13, plus 12. So yeah, if they do try to run up and throw bait you with this, yeah, they die. So that one's pretty simple just to kind of deal with. Just don't roll it like I've said for everything else. Just spot dodge it, and then she explodes. So yeah. Of course, she has her DPs, but her DPs are very, very like standard. I'm just gonna go over them real quick, so it's not like I just skip over them. ODP, pretty fast. This is forces soft knockdown, or it has a pretty big like untech time. MDP, standard MDP, HDP, which is a little faster than MDP, and then there's UDP. So yeah, I guess just look at their minus frames and kind of figure it out for yourself. But yeah, DP, nothing too special. Yeah, that kind of wraps up the Anila guide, counterplay guide. She's pretty simple. A lot of her options can kind of just be dealt with a single option, aka jump, with most of her cancelable options for the most part. But yeah, character isn't too complicated to play or to deal with. So hopefully, you know, if you're a little unsure of yourself on doing with some of these options, especially since you can't roll like most of her stuff, so it might be a little like weird for most people that, you know, may think roll is the option to everything. You know, this kind of opens your eyes to like different possibilities in dealing with certain situations, not only for this character, but, you know, just in general. Jump is a valid option when dealing with certain moves that, you know, may do things that are similar to Anila. Yeah, that's gonna do it for today's video. Next, we're gonna be covering the last character of the most recent patch, Valsaraga, in terms of changes. So look forward to that, because I know that's a character that bothers a lot of people and definitely bothered me for a long period of time. So yeah, I'll be, you know, looking forward to sharing my knowledge on that character in the future. But yeah, that's going to be it for the Anila counterplay guide. I appreciate you guys for sticking through to the end. It means a lot, especially, you know, me coming back after the long break. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say. Hope you guys learned from this. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, you know, leave a like, subscribe, something like that. Leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll get to them as quick as possible. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.